I stayed in Roxborough. I stayed there for 17 years. And I played at the high school, which I had high schoolers. And then I was transferred to the junior high. But I loved high school. I loved it.
All right, so we are here today with Mrs. Georgia Bradsher, longtime pianist, musician, teacher in Person County schools, starting off at Person County High School. So we want to talk to you today about your life and your musical experiences and your experiences in Person County over the years. But we'll start off talking about your beginnings. So tell us about your early life, where you're from, and those experiences.
Okay, there's quite a bit in my life, and I have told quite a few people. My mother and my grandfather were killed in an automobile accident when I was 6 months old. So that was my beginning. So I was raised by my grandmother, my aunt, and my uncle, and I was raised in Carrboro. And Carrboro is so close to Chapel Hill I just say Chapel Hill. Either one, it doesn't matter, Chapel Hill or Carrboro. And when I went to college, I would always tell people we were from Chicago. You know, so many people say Chicago. So we were from Chicago. And they didn't know, that Carrboro had about 5,000 or 10,000 people. So that was how I got started. And I played in the band starting in the 6th grade. But I really started my piano when I was about 6 years old. I had a love for music. And my grandmother bought me a little baby grand piano. And I thought that was the grandest thing. And I learned to play that. And somewhere along the way, that piano got missing. And this might sound strange, but to this day, I believe that piano is somewhere that I can find it. But I had a love for it. And after I started with piano, I guess I started with piano lessons about 8. And after I began to take lessons, there were very few people in Chapel Hill who taught music. So I had one lady who taught me, who played for one church, and she left. After she left, I got another music teacher who played for the Methodist church. Okay, after that, I got another music teacher who was in Durham who played for a Methodist church. So I had all church teachers in the beginning. And the thing that I always watched them, how they played. And one lady was a pianist for the Holy Church, but she never would let me play like she played. I mean, she could play a piano because she was one of my teachers, and she could really play just all over it. But she never would. I had to strictly go by the book. I never was able to play like I wanted to. I had seen her play. And then I went to a teacher from the university. This was before integration. I worked at one of the fraternity houses, and my uncle found someone who could teach piano lessons, but they had to slip me in at night. And I took piano lessons at 8:30 after everything was quiet on campus. And they slipped me in, and I played there until I went to college. Then when I went to college, I went in as a piano major. But along the way, I changed it. I became a saxophonist. And I majored in saxophone. I gave my senior recital on the saxophone. So a lot of people ask me, now when you play, I say, I can't blow a whistle now because I don't have enough wind to blow it. But that was my major. But I played in the high school band, college symphonic orchestra. So I've just been around. So I worked after I got my job in Roxborough. I continued to work in the church back in Chapel Hill. Well, even in college, I went back on Sundays to play for church. I'd catch the bus, go play for church, play for evening service, catch the bus and come back to NCCU, which I wasn't far from my home there. And I'd go back and go catch the bus and come back at night. And then when I went to Roxborough, I played for First Baptist Church. Okay. I played for First Baptist Church service on Sunday morning. I'd go to Chapel Hill on Sunday evening and play for church there. So I've just been working diligently, I'd say, with the churches. And I have had different types of music that I wanted to play, but I concentrated primarily on church music. I get the enjoyment out of playing for church because I feel like I'm doing something that somebody is being touched by with what I do. So I've just been going all around. And I played for about 4 or 5 different churches, and I guess a lot of people say that's church hopping. But when I left, I went to Union Grove, but I said, in that I'm in this area, I need to serve this area. So this is when I played for Jeffers Cross. And I also used to play for a concert group here called the Greystones. And we did every Christmas the Messiah. And I played that for about 20 years. I played it until my piano, because I carried my own piano there. I played it until I played it out. It wouldn't make another sound. And that's when I had to switch and get this one. But I really loved the other one. The sound, there's different instruments have different sounds. This one had a sound that was just beautiful. This one is okay. This is what they've got now. So I got to use it.
All right. So talk about when you came to Person County and started teaching. When was that?
Okay, that was in 1955. My auntie accepted the job for me. I was in New York. And she accepted the job when I got back home because they gave me that for my graduation. And I stayed there 2 weeks. So when I got back, I had a job. She had accepted it and everything. So that was in 1955. And they needed a music teacher there. So I worked there, loved it, and stayed there for 17 years. I had a relationship with the students that I had, and we worked more as I don't know whether you would say friends or what, but what I asked them to do, they always did. And I had a special group, which McArthur was in that group, and we competed. We'd have to stay after school and practice, because when we competed, we're not coming back home second. We're not coming back, nothing but first. And everywhere we went, that's what we were striving for, first place. And most times we got it. As a matter of fact, I don't remember a time that we didn't come back without having first place. So there were so many students that I had. I can't remember them by names, but all of them, we just worked as a group. I don't know. It wasn't a relationship like in some instances as a teacher, you know. It was someone they could come and talk. We could talk to each other. And I think by me being the age I was at that time, and they were younger, we could sort of deal with each other. But I had very few problems with them.
You mentioned one name, McArthur, as in McArthur Pettiford, Reverend McArthur Pettiford. So what was it like to teach him?
Well, there was no problem with him. There was no problem with McArthur. Very mannerable. Very mannerable. And I guess that's the reason I just remembered him all the time. You know, if I'd see him up here anywhere, I would just automatically remember him because he was one of the special people in the group. But he was never a problem there in school.
And also David Ramsey.
David, right? Yeah, David was a very good person, and I don't know whether there's some more I can see their faces, but I can't call their names. But I enjoyed working with them.
Dear Bradsher County High School, alma mater true, we the sons and daughters pledge our loyalty to you.
So, around the time that you were teaching at Person County High School, I've heard the story told that a gentleman pulled up to the school and noticed you from a distance. And as time would go by, you and that gentleman would eventually make a life together. So why don't you tell me about how you and Mr. Bradsher came to get to know one another?
Okay, his brother ran that service station, and he worked there a lot of times on the weekends. So if I'd come in from Chapel Hill, if I'd been out someplace with the school, he would always try to wash my car, put gas in it. He'd always have to have something that he wanted to do, and I put him off for a good little while. And I went home one weekend. I came back, and why? Well, I guess this might have been who I was supposed to be with. And I called him because I had been putting him off so much, and it shocked him. So when I called, because when I got to the house, I called him, and we started dating then, and we dated for 6 months, and we were married within 6 months. And we have been together 62 years. Out of those 6 months, I guess you would say 61 and a half. Yeah, because we dated 6 months. And when I went home and told my grandmother that I thought I was going to get married, she said, she didn't believe me. So, but we ended up together. And it's been a wonderful life together. Been a wonderful life together. We've got 2 kids, 2 wonderful kids. And we've had respect from them. It's been a blessing.
You were telling me one time about growing up with your great-grandmother.
Right. Of course, my great-grandmother was a slave. And if I had only known how things were going to be later on in life, I would have tried to ask her more about her life. And then I thought about it. If you lived lived as a slave, why would you want to remember all of this? Why would you want her to bring these things back? Anything bad that's going to happen, do you want to recall that all the time? But I still would have liked to have known a little bit more than what I did, because she didn't talk about it that much. The main thing that I remember her by is she talked about the day that they were freed. And we talk about June 19th, Juneteenth. Okay, that was the day that she said they were in the field, and the soldiers from the north came through with these blue uniforms and these pretty horses. This is what she talked about, and the shiny buttons, and asked them if they knew that they were free. And they said no. And when they told them that they were, she said they just began to jump up and down, shouting in the field. But I said, now, where could they go? They had nothing. Where could they go? But she found a job with some lawyer, and I think she was making about $5 a month. This is what they gave her. So they just had to go with whoever would take them. And she had, I can't recall all of the names of people, the families that she was with. It's about 5 or 6 names behind her name. And she and my great-grandfather, they met and built a home there in Carborough. And he taught himself to read by the moonlight, because if they were caught with the lights on after dark, the Klan would come through and beat them. So he taught himself how to read. And that puzzled me. I always wondered, how did he do that? But then he became a brick mason and built the first black Baptist church in Chapel Hill. He and his grandsons built some of the buildings on the university campus down there in Chapel Hill. So all of the grandchildren, the nephews and what have you, became brick masons. So he was just a wonderful person, as my great-grandmother was. I never knew him because his son, which was my grandfather, was the one that was killed. He built our house too, where we lived there in Carborough. And I've got a picture here, someplace of it. But they built all of the houses, and most of them were built with little log cabins like, and then they added to them. And ours now, they called ours, I forgot the name that they called those houses at that, mill houses, I think it was. And because it was a mill town. And one of the mills is still there in Carborough, but it's been turned into sort of a little mall like. And my cousin still lives in the home place of my great-grandmother. It was built in 1879, and it is still there. It is now a historical site, and they have put a plaque there. And we used to have the family reunions, and that was visited. The home place was visited quite a few times when we had the family reunions. Well, she lived to be 100. I was 17 when she died. And there was not an awful lot that, the length of time, that I can recall so much. But she was a person that we used to like to play softball. And, well, it didn't matter what day it was, we just wanted to play ball. If we played ball on Sunday, Granny followed us. We'd play on one side of the house because she was on the other side of the house. If she'd come to this side of the house, we'd go to the other side of the house. So we had our own type of, our own name of our own ball game, running from Granny. So we, she didn't take no foolishness. But she was a good woman, very good woman. And she just about, she raised her daughter died, and she raised her daughter's children. And then we were over there all the time. So she just about had all of us there. And I think she was a midwife. I'm not sure, but I think she was a midwife. And a lot of the people in the community, she was a midwife for them. She had her cows. She had and loved to plow. She said she could out-plow any man that ever plowed. And she had a mule called Duck, I believe it was. And she loved to talk about her experiences there. She did one time say she got a whipping because she ate an apple off of the tree. She was not supposed to get an apple from the tree. If it was on the ground, it was okay. But you don't get the apples off the tree. And she talked about how she enjoyed the crumbs. And I think about how we throw food away now. But she used to talk about how she would wait for the people to finish eating, and they would eat the crumbs, take the crumbs. And I said, we're so wasteful now. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to us now. Throw it away. I don't want this. Kids come up now, I don't want this. If they don't want it, they don't eat it. But when we came up, if you don't eat it, you don't eat. So, and I think that taught you to be appreciative. And this is the way things are now. Nobody takes anything seriously. You know, you can just do as you want to. And I think this is what's happening with the world now.
On that note, you often talk about the importance in the church of hymns, going by the hymnal.
If you will take your hymn book, you will find that most of your hymns came from a scripture.
Right.
I have been through them, I have read them, and I have gone back and I have read the scriptures. There's one that I love, Azadiah, which comes from Psalms, and that's beautiful. Whenever you look back at it, the words are just about the same thing. And most times your hymns have come out of some type of experience. A person has experienced something in their life, and through the Bible, they have been inspired to write this. And I was listening to Whitley Phipps. He does Amazing Grace for Bill Gaither. And he was talking about brought on about the spirituals. If you look at your spirituals, you can play all of your spirituals on the black keys. So he said that some elderly black lady told him about the black keys. And it was just amazing the way he did it. I sat there and it brought tears to my eyes when he talked about it. I'm so inspired when I play my hymns. And a lot of them, when I play them, the words is what I concentrate on. And once you get that feeling of what the words are saying, then your music is going to express just exactly the way that it has inspired you to do it. And a lot of people will just play just to be playing. But mine has to talk to me. Once I sort of relate to the person that wrote it, if I'm familiar with the what happened, and it just does. And I try to tell everybody, there's a feeling I can't tell you about. There's a feeling that I get that you won't know about it, but it's just something within me that it just comes out.
Tell us how you got to First Baptist, how you started there.
They had a pianist and organist, and I don't remember what happened, but me being there at the school, and they were without an organist, contacted me. And I told them, I said, I'll see what I can do. And I worked with them for a while, and I accepted the job. And I had played at another church. I'm thinking it was a Methodist church down there that I played for a number of times. But at that time, if you couldn't find, if you didn't have anybody, if I was free, then I'd go and I'd work with the church. So I've just always been to where I was always ready to go. And I've also had the experience of playing for the conductor of the UNC Chapel Hill Orchestra. He was a clarinetist, and he needed an accompanist, and he chose me to do it. So, you know, I was thrilled at that, by him being the conductor of the orchestra down there. 'Cause I figured I didn't know enough to do that, but I did. And as a matter of fact, I still got the music here. And I have also played for a number of contests. The Omega Psi Phi used to have this contest. I don't know whether they still do or not. But I have accompanied people, and I have competed myself. So I have had quite a few experiences, quite a few.
What is the difference now that you see in music, in Christian music, from your origins?
For me, being from the old school, there's a difference in what you see in a song and what I see, what I'm looking for, and what you're looking for. As I said once before, now it's got to be spirited. But for me, before, when I played for the churches when I was younger, the people were they had the spirit, but it was not a spirit like they've got now. They had a spirit that was a true spirit. And I say now that we are trying to make you feel good. But they were singing it because they felt good. You see, something has to come from me that will come to you. But these, now, it's not, there's just a difference, a whole lot of difference. That was true worship to me. I feel like when you walk into a church, there's something that's supposed to strike you. That music is supposed to say something to you. It's supposed to draw you. But some of this now, I don't know whether I'm in a church or a nightclub. And I'm being serious about that. Because when I step in there, you can either dance or do whatever you want to. But years ago, you didn't do that. You honored God when you walked in. You come in now, people are talking about what they did last week, what they're going to do next week, what I'm going to do tonight, what I cooked yesterday. You'd be surprised at the conversations that are going on, and there's no feeling that God is present to me. And that's not the way I accept it.
Is there anything else that you want to just mention about your experiences?
I've had so many until I'll probably think of all of them after you go. Right offhand, I can't think of anything except by me being a child without parents, to a certain extent. I had wonderful people who raised me, and I truly relish their lives, because I could have been put in a orphan home. I could have been placed any place else, but they chose to raise me, and they chose to do the best that I could have, because I got better than a lot of children who had both parents. But my getting was to take the place of what I had lost. And I have to always think in terms of what they did for me to get to where I am. And I think about it. I said, at my age now, God spared my life because I was in the accident when they were killed. I was in the accident. And nobody knew that until they came back to the house, and my great-grandmother asked, "Where's Georgia?" I was in the wreckage. They went back, and I was up near the motor. And I said that's the reason I have to do all I can now, because God spared me for this length of time. But I was in the accident. Yeah, I've been blessed.
We want to thank you, Mrs. Georgia Bradsher, for telling your story and talking about those early experiences in Person County and all the experiences that you've had in life. Thank you.
We appreciate you giving us this opportunity.